Well, good day and welcome back. Well, I've known for a long time that almost all Olivetti and Olivetti Underwood typewriters had a special feature, which is, you might call it the auto-indent feature. What that is if you hold down the margin release key, which on many Olivettis is not marked, it doesn't say MR, it doesn't say margin release. Usually it's where the 1 key would be on a more modern typewriter, upper left key on the keyboard. If you hold that down while you do a carriage return or push the carriage to the right, the carriage stops prematurely before the left margin. It's basically a quick way of doing a paragraph indent. I've known about the Olivettis that had this feature for a long time, and almost every Olivetti that I've tried has it. I think there was one Underwood portable that I tried. It wasn't mine. It might have been an Underwood 315 or something like that. There was one of them that didn't have that feature, but all the other Olivetti portables I've tried, Letter at 22, 32, Studio 45, Studio 44 is what this is. All of those have that feature. A few days ago, I had this green little beauty. This is a Kmart 300 Deluxe 12-inch carriage made by Brother. And it was sitting here by itself on my table here, and I was just kind of playing around and not really thinking much. And I pushed the margin release key and pushed the carriage and thought, hey, that looks like that might have stopped prematurely before the margin. Is that what it actually did? So, yeah, it turns out this Brother-made typewriter has that same margin indent or paragraph indent feature that the Olivettis do. I didn't even know that. Well, as I said, I've known about the auto-indent feature on the Olivettis for quite a while. And I also knew that it really looked like it was indenting quite a bit more than 5 spaces, which is more of a standard paragraph indent. So just a while ago, I decided to test out both this turquoise blue Underwood Olivetti Studio 44, as well as my tan colored older Olivetti Studio 44. I have 2 of these. I wanted to check out how big of an indent do these 2 Olivettis make when you use the margin release method. Okay, now we are at Dr. Polt's classic typewriter page on user manuals. Let's look at the Olivetti Studio 44 manual, and it's a very colorful cover, as Olivetti is known for their artwork. So let's look at this margin release and paragraph indentation key number 4, which is right here, the number 4 key, the upper left key. This key serves a double purpose. It enables you to type outside the limits set by either of the margin stops, and then it gives automatic paragraph indentation. If kept pressed down while bringing the carriage back to the start of a new line, the carriage will stop just over 1 inch to the right of the set margin. So just over an inch. So depending on whether your machine is 10, 11, or 12 characters per inch, determines how many characters it's indented, obviously. Okay, now we have the older Olivetti Studio 44. First we'll type Okay, now we're going to press that and go that and the X. Well, so now we can see the Underwood Olivetti Studio 44 a pica typeface up here, 10 character indent. Well, it's a 1-inch indent. And then this is the Olivetti Studio 44. That's a 12 character per inch machine, or an elite machine. It indents 12 spaces, which is also an inch. Okay, go to the classic typewriter page. This is the page that Dr. Polt maintains. Click on User Manuals and arrow down, scroll down to Brother, and select the Brother JP7. You notice in parentheses it says Kmart 300 Deluxe 12. Click on that. So this is a multi-language manual. If you scroll down under feature number 13 here, dual purpose margin key to extend the typing line beyond the margin stop point and to paragraph sentences. In parentheses, read this. Keep the key depressed, then return carriage so that carriage stops at 5 pitch before left margin stop point. So there it is. That is the feature, and I've only seen this listed in the manual for the JP7 and the corresponding Kmart 300 model. And here is the Brother JP7 Kmart 300 Deluxe 12. It indents 5 spaces. More consistently, a standard kind of an indent, not only for the beginning of paragraphs, but for, indenting an entire paragraph. Okay, that brings to mind something. I've had a number of Olivettis over the years, including an Underwood 21, which is the Underwood branded version of a Studio 44. These 2 Underwood Studio 44s that I have today, I've had 3 Lettera 22s, I've had a Studio 45. Anyways, amongst all those Olivettis, I realized, the Praxis 48 also, don't forget that. Amongst all those Olivettis, I realized I never really used that auto paragraph indent. And I think the reason why is because it's too long. It's 10 characters, it's an inch between these 2 machines, Pica and Elite machines. It's an inch of an indent. And I think I immediately took to the Brother better because it's 5 characters, more of a standard length of indent. So I think that's interesting. Olivetti tried to differentiate themselves amongst the other typewriter manufacturers with this one feature that they went out of their way to put in, including when they bought Underwood, they added it to the Underwood portables, most of them. And yet it seems like maybe they should have made it like 5 characters instead of 10 or 12 in the case of an Elite 12 character per inch typeface. Anyways, I think they maybe shot themselves in the foot, perhaps? Yeah, if you're going to have an auto indent feature, at least make it a little more standard in size. Well, of course, paragraph indenting is not always fixed at 5 characters per inch. If you look at a lot of older typewritten documents, go online and search for old typewritten documents, regardless of what they are. You'll see a lot of times, the older ones especially, were indented more than just 5 characters. Well, anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. So maybe that explains why I never really used the feature on the Olivettis. It was a little too long of an indent. Well, there's another reason, though, maybe why you might not like using it as much, and that is because of the ergonomics of doing it so. Well, here's another reason why I really haven't used the auto indent on the Olivettis, and that is because, you typically do a carriage return with your left hand, and the margin release key is on the left side of the keyboard, but you have to use your right hand, obviously, because your left hand is busy doing the carriage return. So you have to cross your right hand over the keyboard to press and hold this key while you do this. And look at that, there's a point when you get to the point of indent, your hands are kind of crossed. That's a little bit, maybe slightly irritating or slightly counterintuitive of a motion. It's sort of awkward. There's an awkwardness to it. Now, with the Brother, it turns out they happen to put their margin release key also on the left side of the keyboard, and so you have a similar kind of awkwardness. Press and hold it with your right hand while you do this, and then you have this kind of awkward hand-crossed kind of ergonomics. I don't know, but it is a little less irritating on the Brother because it's only doing a 5-character indent. Well, I used to think that this auto indent feature was just an obscure feature that only the Olivettis had, but now that I know that the JP7s, any Brother JP7 machine has it, that actually makes it a little more useful, especially knowing that in the case of Brother, they implemented this feature with only a 5-character indent, which seems to me makes it eminently more useful. And I would say not just for indenting the first line of a new paragraph, but I think the best use case in the case of the Brother machine is indenting entire blocks of text. That's always a little bit of a challenge. You have to end up using a tab usually to set your left margin of your indented paragraph, right? It's nice having that available on these Brother machines and knowing it's only 5 characters. It's not so deep like a whole inch. Well, I know that Olivettis are not the most popular typewriter with collectors. I happen to like them a lot, but I like it even more knowing that JP7 Brothers have this same feature. And I'm curious about you. Do you have a Brother typewriter in your collection, and have you discovered that it has this feature? Especially, it's going to have to be a JP7 model. And if you have an Olivetti or Olivetti Underwood typewriter that has this, do you actually use it? Do you find it useful, or do you find it really a non-useful feature that Olivetti added in there and that doesn't really make it any better of a machine? I'd like to hear your thinking about that. Drop a note down below. Let's talk about it. And in the meantime, I wish you the very best. Stay creative and have yourselves a great day. And bye bye for now.